We'll probably have quite a few designees. Is Michelle Simcox on with us? She had contacted, said she had a conflict. Chairman White, Mark White, someone from the House of Representatives. David Connor.
Here.
Senator Kelsey or Lumberg or designee.
Michael Marin here for Senator Kelsey.
And Lundberg's here.
Hey, Senator.
Hello there.
Ben Torres.
Here.
Eddie Pruitt.
Here.
Chris Henson.
Here.
Sarah Morrison.
Here.
Rita Hammock.
Here. Here.
Commissioner Schwinn or designee from Department of Education.
Mary Ann Dursky for Commissioner Schwinn.
Commissioner Eby or Ely or designee.
Aaron Hall here for Butch Ely.
Okay. Cliff Lippard.
Here.
Is Marlon on?
I saw him earlier.
Thought he was on. I'm going to count him because I think he's just probably having trouble finding the mute button. We got Michael Smith, Comptroller Mumpower,
Linda Wesson for the Comptroller.
Robin Fairclough.
Here.
I know Barry Olhausen is doing his best to get on for Dale Lynch, so we're going to count him as here. Mayor McDonald.
Here.
And who have we got from the Legislative Budget Office? Anyone from Legislative Budget? And Kurt Dronbarger.
Nathan, sorry, it's
Yeah.
Catherine and Jessica are both on, I think.
Oh, great. Okay.
So
Kurt Drumbarger's here too.
Well, and Madam Chair, you are here and you definitely have a quorum.
Thank you very much, Nathan. We have a quorum and we are duly convened. So now Nathan will read the statement of necessity.
There we go. So this is to Robert Green, Director of Publications Division of the Offices of the Secretary of State. Dear Mr. Green, pursuant to TCA Section 844-108B3, the Tennessee Basic Education Program Review Committee, by and through the State Board of Education, hereby submits this letter as its determination of necessity for its committee meeting held via teleconference at 10 a.m. Central Standard Time on the 9th of December 2021. This committee is charged with meeting 4 times annually to discharge its duty. Because members of the BEP Review Committee reside across the state, it was determined that a physical quorum of the members could not be assembled in Nashville for the purposes of this final meeting of 2021. As such, the BEP Review Committee met via teleconference, and this statement of necessity was read with the following members present. Respectfully submitted, Nathan R. James, State Board of Education. With that, your legal, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Nathan. Without objection, the recording of our last meeting will serve as the minutes. Is there an objection? Without objection, so ordered. The next item on the agenda is this Tasser Memo, and I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Cliff Lippard.
Thank you, Shirley. So as you'll recall, several meetings ago, we brought you the subject of the potential for replacing the use of tax equivalency payments in the fiscal capacity formula, our portion of the fiscal capacity formula, with the Industrial Development Board data that wasn't available in the past, but it's available now. And this is the same data that's used in the UT SEBR model. At the time we presented it, the will of the committee was for us to come back at a later time with additional analysis and updated analyses and looking at the topic somewhat further. So the short story is we started to plan those updates and new projections back around October. Something else happened around October. Yes, the governor announced that the new funding review And in light of the lack of certainty on where that's going and what that will include, we've not updated the IDB TEP information yet because it seemed somewhat pointless to do that until we knew exactly what the role of the fiscal capacity formula would be going forward, and any other number of particulars. So we're kind of in a wait and hold mode on that. We're happy to come back with additional information if it's the will of the committee, but we thought it wise to wait until we had more clarity on what was happening with that review process.
Very good. Are there any questions or comments based on what Dr. Lippert just shared with us? Sounds completely reasonable to me. And with that, we will then move on to the next agenda item. Thank you, Dr. Lippert. Next up is David Connor. Request for funding process presentation. I'm going to turn it over to you, David.
Thank you, Chair Lady. Yeah, this was an item. I appreciate you very much adding it to the agenda. It was, those of you who are on the last meeting, I made a motion to bring up for discussion whether this committee would like to have an opportunity to meet with the administration to talk about its process and where it's going or where it may think it is headed with education funding changes. And I know at that time there wasn't any language of a request, there wasn't any sort of detail, so I withdrew the motion then. And I appreciate very much Nathan and Chairman Hartgrove including a copy of the letter. There's no pride of authorship in that. Happy to change anything if anybody sees problems, but at least suggested some language that if the committee as a whole wished to make this request, it's something that I would be interested in. And I know a number of the committee members are serving on some of the oversight or some of the subcommittees that are looking at these issues. So it may be this is moot if the review committee feels like there's enough participation from members of the committee, but I thought I would come back with this more formal request.
Thank you for that, David. Nathan, question for you. It seems to me, but tell me if this is correct or not, that the letter from David should be read by David into the record for our minutes. Since we're not attaching documents to these videos, I don't think we can do that. So does that seem logical to you?
Yeah, I think that would be fine. And you know, I think it will end up on the website. I mean, that's how some of those things have happened in the past, but it doesn't hurt a thing to also get it out there so that folks can react to it.
Let's go ahead and do that, David, and then we can have discussion and find out what the will of the committee is before we move forward.
All right. Do you want me to read the whole thing or just the paragraph of the requested language? I'm happy to do either.
I think you should read the entire letter.
All right. So I wrote, Dear Chairman Hartgrove, I'm writing to request that an item be placed on the agenda for consideration at the December meeting of the BEP Review Committee. As a follow-up to a motion I made and withdrew at the last meeting, I would like the committee to discuss whether it would like to request the administration to brief the Review Committee on the ongoing review of Tennessee's education funding formula. As during the last meeting, there were concerns raised about the specific language of any such request. I will submit proposed language below for the committee to consider as a starting point. Certainly do not want to put you in a delicate position or create any conflicts for you regarding your service on the State Board of Education. Therefore, should a majority of the review committee agree, I would propose this be submitted as a request from the members of the review committee itself. And then the language I proposed was saying, Tennessee Code annotated section 491302 directs the State Board of Education to create a review committee that annually reviews the components of the basic education program funding formula and identifies any needed revisions, additions, or deletions to the formula. As the members of that committee, we have a particular interest in the ongoing review of Tennessee's education funding formula that is currently being conducted by the administration. We humbly request an opportunity to hear from the administration regarding that process, any early findings or conclusions resulting from the review, and the priorities of the administration in creating a new funding formula. The members of the BEP Review Committee would also like an opportunity to share their thoughts and concerns about education funding in Tennessee with the administration as it embarks on efforts to revise K12 education funding.
Thank you for that, David. Are there comments, suggestions, questions that you all want to pose regarding David's request?
This is a bit of minutia, but you had read in the third from the bottom, last part of that sentence, the priorities of the administration. And you said creating just then. This says crafting. I don't think it matters, but just pick one.
Sorry about that. My mistake.
I would have done the same probably.
So minor language change from draft crafting to creating a new funding formula. Other questions or comments? And in particular, I would like to know if you all are of the same mind that a letter should be written to the administration, to the governor and the commissioner, since this was launched by both of them.
I agree with the statement and the request. I think there are a lot of people that are a part of this review committee that have been a part of, education funding in Tennessee. And, I think there's a lot of institutional knowledge that would be wise to be able to be in that conversation. So yes, I support it.
Thank you for that.
I do too. And if you'd like, I can make it in the form of a motion that we would send this language on to the administration in this letter.
Mayor McDonald makes a motion to send the language drafted in the letter to me from David Connor to the administration. Is there a second?
I'll second. Eddie Pruitt seconds.
Eddie Pruitt provides the second. Let's move into discussion.
Madam Chair,
Yes.
this is Robin Fairclough, and I don't know if it matters or doesn't matter, but I didn't know on the last sentence whether it should stay to revise K-12 or should it say to revise pre-K through 12 funding. I don't know if that matters or not, because I don't know how pre-K fits in all of this.
I think typically the language has been K-12. Sarah, Nathan, anybody else? Have you, Eddie, Kurt, have you all heard differently? I mean, should it be pre-K to 12? Because I don't think we fund completely pre-K across the state, unless that's changed and I missed it.
Yeah, and I mean, if they choose to do that, that would be in the future. So I think the purview of this committee has always been K-12 funding. So
that's right. That's what I was going to say too, Madam Chair. And I haven't heard any different in terms of the conversations that are taking place right now for a new funding formula. So I think it'd probably be safe to say K-12 for this purpose.
Okay, very good. Thank you, though, for mentioning that, Robin. Other comments? I'm interested to know, does the content of what was provided by David appear to be the full depth and breadth of what a letter would say? Or is there anything else that needs to be added? Is this comprehensive enough? I'm not saying it is or it isn't. I just want to be sure.
On Fairclough again. I guess my only question also is we're asking for this information, but also is there going to be any guidance on what the role or if there will be a role of this committee moving forward with any revisions or renaming of a funding formula? Or will this committee then, because BEP would not exist, would this committee not exist?
I think,
Madam Chair,
yes.
if you
Yes.
want, I know we have, we've got Senator Lundberg on, who at the moment is, he's first vice chairman of education, acting chair at the time. And, I would say a lot of that simply remains to be seen. It's going to depend entirely on what exactly gets proposed and then what the standing committees of both the House and the Senate come to an agreement on. If I was to prognosticate a bit, I would say that, and please, I would ask, Senator Lundberg, correct me if I'm out on a limb here.
Or not so far.
Okay, or Michael, the same way. I would think you would need to have some outlet for, and forum that's formalized for discussion of whatever the funding formula is and happens to be. So if there is no BEP, one could conclude that there won't necessarily be a BEP review committee. However, I think it's pretty difficult to observe the history of state funding in Tennessee and not see the importance of this committee, even with its, just its annual, priorities that have been put forward, things that have become law, the improvements that have been made, pretty invaluable from any perspective. So I don't know. I would think, Senator, do you imagine that's going to end up being a point of discussion?
A point of discussion, yes, but I think you articulated it very well. So I think you encapsulated it. Michael, I don't know if you have any additional thoughts.
I concur. I think we've seen the value of the BEP review committee over the years, and it would be some version of this going forward if a new funding formula were to pass I believe would be important. So.
Would it be important for members of this committee who are serving on subcommittees to make the recommendation in their respective subcommittees, the education funding subcommittees, that we believe a form of, or that the BEP review committee should remain in place? And we could certainly articulate what those factors are. I know that Eddie Pruitt serves on subcommittee with me for rural and small districts. So it's possible that we could certainly include that as a recommendation. I think part of that, what I've heard, I don't think, I know, part of what I have consistently heard is if we do not include our suggestions and recommendations, that there could still be a thought that it may not actually be considered. But I certainly do trust our legislators and believe that it will certainly come true that you all would look at that and perhaps include it in the language if you see that as being appropriate based on what comes out of the review process and the recommendations from the administration. I just say that because I'm wondering if it would be wise to do that, in addition to what we've already talked about.
I think it would be.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Other discussion items? So now that I'm not hearing any other discussion, so what we will need to do is have Nathan call the roll. But before we do that, Nathan, I want us to have clarity over, I think we talked about, does it come from my signature on behalf of the committee, or is it best to have everyone's signature on the letter that would go to the governor and the commissioner of education?
Well, what we could do, go ahead.
No, what would be more meaningful, to have every signature?
Yeah, well, it also would prove logistically difficult. Now, what we could do is list everyone voting in favor, or we could just say, by vote of the committee, and then it would come from you, or if you wanted me to write it as kind of staff to the committee, I could do that as well. It's, I'm happy with either way, but we could certainly make it clear in the letter that it's by vote of the members of the committee.
I have no issue with that. In particular, as we think about the context of why we're doing this, this committee has existed for quite some time. And I think it's only natural and appropriate and correct that this committee would want to have a briefing, have a presentation, and come to know and understand and be included, and have a direct presentation made to the committee. I think that's appropriate.
So is that to say it would be under your signature with the language in there about the vote and the members?
That is correct.
If everybody's clear, I'd be happy to take the roll.
No more questions? Okay, then Nathan will call the roll.
Cheryl Simcox, Chairman White, David Connor,
Yes.
Senator Kelsey, Lumberg, or
Aye.
Ben Torres,
Yes.
Eddie Pruitt,
Yes.
Chris Henson,
Aye.
Sarah Morrison,
Aye.
Frida Hammock,
Yes.
Mary Andersky for Commissioner Schwinn,
Pass.
Aaron Hall for Commissioner Ely.
Sorry, it's actually Dory.
Oh, hey, Dory.
Hello, we'll pass as well.
Pass, sure. Cliff Lippard
Yes.
and Marlon. Is he back with us?
Yes, and I apologize. My audio is real fuzzy, so I'm sorry I missed the roll call earlier.
We got you anyway. I knew you were here, so. And you vote aye?
Yes.
Very good. Bob Eby's absent. Michael Smith? Absent.
Aye, I'm here. I'm sorry.
Oh, Michael Smith, great. Okay. Linda for Comptroller Mumpower?
Pass.
Robin Fairclough? Robin? Is she gone? Okay.
She's there.
Aye.
Oh, okay, very good. Barry Olhausen for Dale?
Aye.
Mayor McDonald?
Aye.
Legislative Budget Office, I know we got several of them on there.
Jessica Himes for legislative budget, pass.
And Kurt Dronbarger?
Yes.
Madam Chair?
Aye.
All right. And you certainly have the majority. I can count them up here. Let's see, 2, 3, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 members voting in the affirmative and no negative. The motion
Thank you, Nate.
passes.
So the ayes have it and the motion is approved. Thank you all very much. And David, thank you for bringing this forward for us and for us to have the language to review and consider. There are no other agenda items but to have closing remarks. But I do certainly want to ask you all if you have any closing comments that you want to make. Sometimes I talk too much and my throat right now is a little bit wonky. So I want to hear from you if there's anything else that you want to say, since this is the last meeting of the year. And I think it may be very well that we would be convening a special meeting. It may not be the end of the year, but it may very well be the first part of the year to have a presentation. We certainly hope that would be the case. Any other comments or remarks? Well, I'm going to say what I usually say, and I mean this in all sincerity. Thank you so much for your service. It is always an honor to be with you and certainly to serve with you. So thank you so much. I hope you all enjoy the holidays. Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and whatever it is you do and to celebrate during some time off during the holidays. Thank you so much. Without objection.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
Madam Chair, just 1 second before we adjourn. I do want to let the members of the BEP Review Committee know that that your priorities several of your priorities were worked into the Education Recovery Innovation Commission report, which is being posted tomorrow. The work of the ERIC Commission, they looked at the priority list for the BEP Review Committee and did include the nurses and the social workers, some of the other things that this committee has made a priority. So they certainly have appreciated the work of this committee as well. So with that, I'll hush.
Excellent. Thank you, Nathan. Thank you all very much. Without objection, we are adjourned.
Merry Christmas to all.
Thank you.
Christmas, Mayor.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye. Take care.